Hey everyone, and welcome to today's Explainer. Today, we're zooming in on the places where tons of us actually live, our cities. Now, cities are amazing, right? They're vibrant, bustling, and literally full of life. But as they get bigger and bigger, they run into some really tough environmental challenges. So let's explore exactly how city life impacts nature, and much more importantly, what you and I can do to make things better. Okay, here's a quick look at our roadmap for today. We'll be covering welcome to the city, the air and climate, water, earth, and waste, nature, light, and noise, how can we help, and finally, building a clean, green city. Let's get right into it.
All right, Section 1, Welcome to the City.
Okay, let's dive into the big picture first. On one hand, cities give us incredible opportunities. Think tall buildings, endless roads, and just so much cool activity everywhere. But if we look a bit closer at this map, we can spot the ecological problems all that activity creates. From thick smoke in the air to scattered trash on the ground, you'll see that everything is totally connected.
So, what exactly is a city? Well, cities are undeniably great places to live and work. With all the shops, schools, and hospitals around, they give us so many opportunities to learn and do new things every single day. But here's the catch. Because millions of people are living so close together, cities also create some massive environmental problems. It puts a lot of pressure on nature. But don't worry, today we're going to figure out what these problems are so we know exactly how to help.
Moving on to Section 2, the air and climate. You know, we see this one pretty much every day. Cars, giant factories, and massive power plants are major causes of air pollution. They pump out dark smoke and invisible harmful gases that can actually cause breathing problems for both us and animals. Plus, all those cars and the heating systems in our buildings produce what we call greenhouse gases, like CO2. Imagine these gases floating up and acting like a giant, invisible blanket over the city, trapping the sun's heat. And over time, all that trapped heat is exactly what drives climate change. Now think about all those cars out on the road. Too many cars inevitably lead to massive, frustrating traffic jams. And when cars are just sitting there in traffic, their engines are still running, right? That means more fuel is being burned, which heavily pollutes the air. But guess what? Cars aren't the only things heating up the city. Those huge concrete buildings and wide asphalt roads absorb heat from the sun all day long. Because of this, a city can actually be several degrees hotter than the countryside right outside of it. We call this a really warm urban heat island.
All right, time for a quick quiz. I want you to think for a second. Which kind of pollution actually makes the air dirty and causes those breathing problems we just talked about? So, is it water pollution, noise pollution, or air pollution? Well, if you guessed air pollution from cars and factories, you nailed it. Great job. Let's head into Section 3, Water, Earth, and Waste.
So the pollution in a city doesn't just hang out up in the air. It actually sinks down. Things like sewage, harmful chemicals, and tons of plastic waste end up polluting our rivers and lakes. And obviously, that dirty water is super dangerous. It harms the fish, the water plants, and basically all living things that rely on it for a drink. On top of that, chemicals and heavy metals contaminate the dirt, the soil itself. And as you can probably guess, when the ground is polluted and toxic, plants either grow very poorly or they don't grow at all.
And you might be wondering, why is the ground getting so polluted in the first place? Well, it's because we produce way too much trash every single day. To put that into perspective, one person can generate over 4 pounds of garbage in just one day. And all that trash has to go somewhere, so it gets piled into massive dumps called landfills. These take up a huge amount of space and can actually leak poisons right back into the earth. Plus, cities are just incredibly hungry and thirsty. They consume massive amounts of water, energy, and raw materials, things like wood and metal. So we absolutely must learn to use our resources wisely if we want to prevent shortages.
Okay, time for another quick check-in. Quiz time. What should we do with our plastic bottles instead of just tossing them in the regular trash where they'll just end up sitting in landfills or polluting rivers? Think about it for a second. Yep, you got it. We should always recycle them, or better yet, just use a reusable water bottle from the start.
All right, moving into Section 4, Nature, Light, and Noise.
You know, as a city grows, it needs more space. And sadly, this usually means that beautiful parks and trees are cut down to make room for new buildings and roads. Losing trees creates a total chain reaction. Less green space means less clean air. And, as we learned earlier, it also means a lot more heat. But it's also absolutely devastating for wildlife. Birds, bugs, and small animals lose their natural habitats, their homes.
This causes a huge loss of biodiversity in the city, meaning only a few super tough species, like pigeons or rats, end up sticking around.
And let's be real, the city is rarely ever peaceful. The endless traffic, loud construction, and blaring music create what we call noise pollution. And that constant noise isn't just annoying. It can actually cause serious stress, tiredness, and even hearing problems. But the city also changes how we see the sky. Street lamps and bright neon signs create so much artificial light at night that it causes light pollution. These super bright skies can really confuse animals, mess up their sleep schedules, and unfortunately, hide the beautiful stars from us.
Here is our third quiz time. So, why are trees so incredibly important in our cities? Think back to what we just talked about. Yes, they clean that dirty air, they provide cooling shade to help fight off the urban heat island effect, and they give natural homes to urban animals. Basically, trees are like nature's superheroes.
Okay, Section 5. This is the best part. How can we help? We can actually start making a difference right now by changing how we move around and use power. Instead of hopping in a car for a short trip, why not walk or ride a bicycle? It's totally free of emissions, and it's great for your health, too. For longer trips, using public transport like buses, trains, and trams is a huge help. I mean, just one single bus can take dozens of cars off the road. And at home, you can easily chip in by saving electricity. Simply turning off the lights when you leave a room or getting your family to use energy-saving devices makes a real difference.
And we can totally get our hands dirty, in a good way. Imagine planting more trees in your neighborhood to help clean the air and give some nice natural shade. And when it comes to all that trash we talked about earlier, just remember the golden rule. Reduce, reuse, and recycle. That is the best way to keep garbage out of our landfills. Also, when you're brushing your teeth, just turn off the tap to save water. And of course, whenever you're outside, don't litter. Keeping our parks clean is a simple way to protect nature every single day.
All right, one last quiz time to see if you're a true green travel expert. Which type of transport is actually better for the environment? Driving alone in a car, or riding a bicycle and taking the bus? You know this one. Riding a bicycle and taking public transport are way better choices for our city's air.
And finally, Section 6, a clean, green city.
So, what's the big takeaway here? The most important thing to remember is that every single person, yes, that definitely includes you, can help the environment. You don't need to be a scientist or the mayor to make a change. Small actions like picking up a piece of stray litter, riding your bike to a friend's house, or just flicking off a light switch really do add up to make an incredibly big difference. A clean, green city is just a way better place to live. It's healthier for all of us right now, and it helps protect the whole planet for future generations.
I want to leave you with one big, really important question today. What will you do to help your city today? Will you walk to school instead of driving? Will you recycle a soda can? Or maybe even plant a seed? The power to make your city a brighter, greener place is completely in your hands. Thanks so much for hanging out with me on today's Explainer. Keep learning, keep exploring, and keep making a difference out there.